Good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started, and hopefully as more folks come in, we'll be able to have them work into the conversation. My name is Tony Parrott, and I am the Executive Director, CEO of the Louisville Metropolitan Sewer District, and I want to welcome you, number one, to MSD. This facility here is called our Central Maintenance Facility, and if you notice as you pulled in, there's probably a parking lot full of dump trucks and equipment and that type of thing. So we have a very large presence of staff, and most of the staff that are located and worked out of this facility respond to various issues across the city. And welcome to our facility here and our team of staff that is here to provide as much information as we can. I do want to take a minute and thank Councilmember Philip Baker for coming out this evening. We really appreciate your support, sir. All right. So what we want to try to do tonight, first, this is the first of 5 meetings that we have scheduled regarding an update and an opportunity for you to learn what we are doing in our system regarding the management of odors and what we are doing in our community, not only at our wastewater treatment plants, but what we are doing in the sewer collection system and information that we need to get back from you in order to better respond to certain issues in our community. We also have another meeting that will be scheduled in June, and we have another meeting on the schedule in August, and we have another meeting scheduled in October. We actually have 2 meetings scheduled in October. So we have information on those meeting dates and those times and those locations for anyone to come out and have a discussion with us. We wanted to host these meetings because we feel like it's an opportunity for us not only to inform you, but also to give you a little more information than you would normally get in a meeting that is less programmatic than we've participated in over the last year or so. So I think just to kind of give you a little bit of background, we want to start with just a quick little short video that kind of gives you a little insight on what we do at MSD.
MSD, ensuring safe, clean waterways for Louisville and the surrounding region. MSD does more than you might realize to protect the health and safety of our communities, and the work is really quite extraordinary. It is our mission to provide quality wastewater, stormwater, and flood protection services to protect public health and safety. Let's talk about MSD's 3 key services. First up, wastewater treatment. This is the water we send down the drain from sinks, showers, tubs, and toilets. MSD treats more than 170 million gallons of wastewater every day. Water quality treatment centers ensure that the water meets or exceeds regulatory standards before it's released back into local streams and the Ohio River. Next up, stormwater management. What happens when we get heavy rains or after it snows? All of that water has to go somewhere. MSD makes sure the runoff flows into drainage channels to underground pipes that transport water away from homes and businesses and into area creeks, streams, and the Ohio River. Now let's talk about flood protection. MSD flood protection infrastructure includes 29 miles of flood wall, 16 pumping stations, 150 floodgates, and 80 flood wall closures. It all works together, keeping the community safe when river waters rise. MSD also closely monitors water quality within the system to make sure pollutants don't contaminate our waterways. Plus, the innovative technology and engineering of MSD's waterway protection tunnel and underground storage basins further protect our community from dangerous overflows and pollution. There's more to MSD than you imagined, right? MSD is dedicated to our community's health, a cleaner environment, and a better quality of life for all area residents, today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
So we use that video basically because one of the things that we've tried to do in the last 5 years is to make sure that people understand that MSD is really three utilities in one. Three distinct set of infrastructure assets and three separate enterprises. And so a lot of times we get questions from folks to say, well, my MSD portion of the bill is more than the drinking water portion of the bill. That's because there's three distinct services that you're paying for as a part of MSD. And when we look at what we do, it is kind of pointed out that we do wastewater, and one of the largest treatment facilities that we have is Morris Foreman, which is located here in West Louisville, and it's probably the largest and the oldest. It is the oldest and the largest treatment plant in the state of Kentucky. Stormwater and drainage, we have separate drainage outside of the 264 loop, and so those sewers are not combined sewers like they are inside the 264 loop. And then flood protection, we do manage 26 miles of earthen levee along the Ohio River, 16 major flood pump stations, and we are currently in the phase of trying to replace those 16 flood pump stations, and a lot of work has already started at the Patty's Run flood pump station here in West Louisville, and that is a $230 million project that is just now under construction. During tonight's presentation, you have a couple of opportunities to participate. You can submit a report of an odor in your community, or you can, if you have a specific issue, you can let us know about it, and you can use the blue form that was given out for you to do that. We have a team of folks that are here to be able to have this discussion with you, or to answer your questions, or to maybe even assist you. If you have a question relative to odor and the information that we are going to present tonight, you can submit that to our team as well. And our team is available, and those forms are in the green form. So you should have either a blue form or a green form, and depending on what you want to do, if you just want to report an odor, you have the blue card. If you want to ask a question relative to odor or what we present tonight, you should have a green card. So I want to talk about our industry, what causes odors in a sewer system. One of the most prominent odors that come out of the sewer system is called hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide is the natural result when sewage or other materials decompose in the system. Common places where you may notice odors, it may be near a treatment plant, it may be near a pump station, or it may be near what we call catch basins, and we'll talk a lot about catch basins in a minute, or near creeks or streams. We can only talk to you about what we know, and what we do know is that we are not the only odor in town. We know that there's a lot of odors in our city, but we know that anything that is relative to the sewer system, we know what it is and we know how to respond to it, but we do not know how to address odors that may be coming from a manufacturing facility, or odors that may be coming from an industrial plant, or odors that may be coming from a restaurant or something like that. So when we talk about, when we get information from you and you say there's odors, we need to know as much specifics as we can so that we can identify where that odor is coming from. We do know that there are what we call non-MSD sources of odors, and we work every day to address those that are within our system. We also know that there are private industries that contribute to odor as well, and as we do what we do in terms of controlling what comes into the sewer system, we also work with our industries to try to control what's being discharged into the public sewer system as well. We use a variety of methods to mitigate odors in and around our facilities. We have, for example, for small air streams, we use this on the slide here is called a carbon canister, and those are usually installed on manholes or on pressure relief valves when there is odors from those areas. And these are mostly at our smaller pump stations, or they are used to hold on to the odor-causing compounds, and the air that streams through those, passes through those, to mitigate odors locally at certain parts of the system. At some of our larger pump stations in the collection system, we use chemicals to prevent odors. A common remedy that we use in our pump stations is called bioxide, and that is a non-hazardous chemical that is commonly added to wastewater for odor control, and it also creates an opportunity for the bacteria in the waste stream to thrive so that it is actively consuming and dissolving odors as well. So the one thing that I will say about some of the chemical treatment that we do in our system, it is very expensive. And we are also looking at how we can not only improve or expand the number of chemical additions in our system, but we're also looking at other remedies as well throughout the system. Other mitigation methods is what we call biofilters. Biofilters are something that we think is a very simple treatment process where we exhaust the air through woods, chips, or large pieces of mulch. And as those airs go through those pieces of mulch, again, the bacteria that's created there consume the odor compounds that are part or coming off of such of a facility. And then we also use biological scrubbers. These are very, very large systems that we use, and they're very complicated and very expensive as well to operate. There are a lot more moving parts, if you will, biofilters and other things that are involved with it, because inside the vessels of the bed of media and living on the media, we have other compounds that help absorb the odors as a part of the odor treatment process. So you've got 3 or 4 different methods that we are using currently with our operations that we do every day. Whenever we identify issues, there's, again, the use of chemical treatment as a part of our collection system to help reduce the amount of odors that can generate within the sewer system. So when people say, well, what are you doing? This is the stuff that we're already doing and the stuff that we do every day. We talked about the treatment plants. In Louisville and Jefferson County, we have 5 major treatment plants, and there are 5 different watersheds. And I mentioned before, the Morris-Foreman treatment plant here in the West End is the largest watershed that we serve in Jefferson County. It has a facility that was built in 1958, largest and the oldest in the state of Kentucky. On a normal dry day like today, we treat about 90 million gallons a day, and then during a rainy period, we can treat up to 350 million gallons a day. So almost 4 times the average daily dry weather flow. At Morris-Foreman, we have already initiated construction to replace our biosolids handling system at Morris-Foreman. That is a $255 million project, and as a part of the scope of that project, there's approximately $12 million that we are allocating to odor improvements on the Morris-Foreman property. That project is a design-build project, and it will take some time for us to get that project complete, but it's already in our budget, it's already initiated, and it is expected to be completed by the end of 2026. So that's how complicated that project is, but it does have scope in that project that are specific to odor reduction at the Morris-Foreman treatment plant. I show this slide here when you think about the watershed for Morris-Foreman. The yellow outline shows you the area that it serves. And a lot of people, when we talk about the combined sewer system, it's a sewer system that was designed and created back in the 1800s, where it took on stormwater and normal drainage from homes and industry in the same pipe. And they're very large diameter pipes. The innovation of the 1800s was, well, you have the combination sewers, but you have the rain to be able to be available to self-clean or to help clean those sewers out. And we'll talk a little bit about the rain in a second, but that's how the sewer was created back in the 1800s. So as you can see inside this watershed, we have a very large, it's our largest watershed, and most of our folks are on that combined sewer system. When we talk about a combined sewer system, when we talk about the rainwater, that rain or that drainage enters into the system through what we call a catch basin. And the catch basins were designed to take on a rain during a rain event, and then as that goes in there, the way they were designed at the time, if the rain event was too much, the sewer would overflow. So were designed overflows in the system, which we are currently under federal order to eliminate because of the change in the Federal Clean Water Act. So we have spent well over $1 billion eliminating overflows in the combined sewer system, and we just completed our last combined sewer overflow project. You probably heard of us talk about a deep tunnel that ran from downtown Louisville out to I-64 in Greenstead. That was a $230 million deep tunnel project that we just completed. And now our focus is on doing the work within the existing system and at our treatment plants and at our pump stations. 85% of our current CIP, our capital improvement budget, is tied up into existing federal consent decrees or state agreed orders to address either upgrading the system or to come into compliance with the Clean Water Act. So think about that. 85% is already allocated. It doesn't leave very many residual funds for us to deal with immediate needs or emergency needs in our system. So we recently amended our consent decree to make sure that we could provide a certain allowance for us to deal with what we call asset management. How we repair existing pipes, large diameter pipes, and how we put money into our treatment facilities, and how we put money into addressing community concerns like odor. But what a trap basin does, it basically takes on this flow, and you can see that there's two types of catch basins, some that were designed with what we call a trapped mechanism and some that are untrapped. And I can tell you inside the 264 loop, we have about 20,000 catch basins. And about 12,000 of them, back when they were installed, were untrapped. And by being untrapped, basically what it means is that when we have a catch basin that is trapped, there is a water line in the catch basin. If you can see it here, the water line prevents odors from coming out of the sewer system and coming out the catch basin. So out of the 20,000 that are inside the 264 loop, 12,000 of them are untrapped. So the odor stays in the system when you have a trapped catch basin. So fortunately, not all 20,000 of them are untrapped. And so we're able to go through now and inspect and assess those that need either replacement or upgraded to make sure that they are trapped so that odor cannot get out through a catch basin. An untrapped catch basin, it does not have the ability to have a water line within that catch basin to keep the odors from leaving the system. So what we have to do is we have to go in and when we get a call, our crews, and a lot of them are standing out here amongst you today. Tony Woods is one of them. Throw up your hand, Tony. Tony's and others, they respond, and the first thing they do, they figure out where the odor is coming from. And if it's coming from a catch basin, and they figure out that it's untrapped, the first thing we try to do is to get water into the system. We try to get water into the catch basin, or we flush the system, and then secondly, we deodorize that system. So that's what our crews are doing every single day during the summer, particularly during a long, hot, dry period. So when people ask us what we're doing, these are the type of things that we're doing. We're responding, and we're either flushing or we're deodorizing these systems. I talked about rainfall, and this is fact. We have seen that we have experienced a long period of drought, and I just saw a news report yesterday that this summer is expected to be a long, dry, hot summer. That's not good news for us because we know that there's going to be challenges if we're not getting the rain that we need to flush out those combined sewer systems. So with the combined sewer system, if it was designed in the 1800s to be self-cleaning and you're not getting the rain to flush it out, you have that residue within that system that is decomposing. And that's what generates what we call the H2S. And ultimately, without the trapped catch basins, that's one part of the system where odors are getting out. And that's why we've put so much focus on that. And so we know that particularly in areas where we have hotspot areas or complaints, we know that we need to assess the catch basins first, and we need to make sure we have those conversations. And then we need to make sure specifically from the community, what are you smelling? Because once we know what you're smelling, we can determine where that odor is coming from. And if it's coming from outside or if it's coming from inside, there's also internal plumbing issues that we need to talk to you about as well. What our crews do also, in addition to flushing the system through with our existing Vector trucks, we also have a partnership with the Louisville Water Company. When they flush fire hydrants, we coordinate with them to make sure that they are flushing those hydrants in parts of the city where we are getting odor complaints. Secondly, we contracted last year with water truck tankers so that we could direct and send water trucks and tankers into areas to where they could introduce and get water into the system. We are going to do that again this summer. In fact, we're getting ready to do a bid to contract with more providers to help us get water into the system. Also know that we're not getting the flow from normal residents and businesses as we did. This graph here, what it shows you is that even though the population of our city is almost 2 to 3 times higher than it was in 1960, as you can see, the blue line shows you the total consumption on an annual basis. And you can go back and you can look at 1971 versus 2015. Even though the population has increased by 2 or 3 times, we're not getting that additional flow with the growth of our city. So with a combined sewer system, even though the city is bigger, we're not getting the flow from residents and industry. We're not getting the rain that we would normally get to flush the system. We have a double-edged sword. We are not getting the flow to flush the system out, particularly during dry, hot summer periods. And that, my friends, is the primary contributor to why you have odors in the streets and in the collection system. The lack of water usage and the lack of rain. That's factual. No matter how anybody else wants to spin it, that's factual. And here's a good graphic as to shows you the impact of why those dry periods matter. If we were going to say, okay, the daily consumption from Louisville water is about 150 million gallons a day. We always say we want to have rain, particularly if we can get a 1-inch rain event or a 2-inch rain event, because a 2-inch rain event produces about 2 billion gallons a day. And so when we get those large rain events, that rain assists us in helping flush out the combined sewer system. We've had folks tell us, well, why can't you just have the little water company flow more water into the system? Or we've had people tell us, well, why can't you just put a pump in the Ohio River and put water in the system? We have 20,000 different catch basins inside the 264. We have 50,000 manholes across Jefferson County. You would spend more money building a system to pump water from the Ohio River to address odors than you would and to do what we are doing right now. So we have to be rational and we have to be factual on what the issues are and what the short-term fixes are and what the long-term fixes are. When we talk about our catch basin replacement program, we've already had a series of construction projects are underway across several neighborhoods. So far, we have 295 catch basins that will be done by May of 2025. And the majority of those that have already initiated construction, some of them are wrapping up this May. And then we have phases, for example, in the Shawnee neighborhood, we actually had to rebid that project 3 times to be able to get bidders to bid, and we had to package those together to get a bid on that project. But now that we have bids on the Shawnee neighborhood, that work will be wrapping up in the fall of 2024. So we have identified and assessed, inspected every catch basin in all the neighborhoods. We still have some work to do in the Russell neighborhood, for example, where we think the estimate there, it could cost just in the Russell neighborhood alone, $15 million to replace the catch basins. So what we've identified so far in a preliminary budget is work that we know we can do over, say, the next 2 to 3 fiscal years. And that is estimate about $48 million. Currently, we don't have that money in our budget. So next month, I've got to have conversations with my board to make sure we can prioritize and set up the funding priority for fiscal year 25, fiscal year 26, fiscal year 27. And that is in addition to all the work that we already are doing at Morris Forman. That's in addition to all the work that we're doing at the Shawnee Basin. That's in addition to all of the work that we have already started at our pump stations and all the work that we're getting ready to do with increasing the chemical addition into our system. So when you think about that $48 million worth of work that we've identified and the work that we've already started, collectively, it's over $60 million. And that's work that, like I said before, we got to figure out how we're going to pay for it, because 85% of our capital budget is already earmarked for other agreements and orders that we've signed on to. And if we violate those orders, you violate federal law. And nobody at MSD is going to go to prison for violating federal law. So when you look at the catch basin replacement program, we've identified work in Park Duval, phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 1 is complete. Phase 2 is in process, which means it's under construction right now. The California neighborhood, we've identified 3 phases of work there. First phase is complete. The second phase is in process. It means it's under construction. And the third phase, we were able to get a federal grant with the support of Congressman John Yarmouth to be able to get some money, some ARPA money, to help fund phase 3. And the red tape of getting money from the federal government, we're still waiting on that, but that project is going to be slated for construction this year. In the Shawnee, I just mentioned that we just got bids back for that area, and that area will be done in the fall of 2025. And in Chickasaw neighborhood, we have completed the inspections. We've identified 73 catch basins for replacement, and we're developing the bid documents as we speak. In the Taylor Berry neighborhood, we've completed the inspections, and we have 54 catch basins that we know that we have to replace, and it is going out to bid in July of 2024. And in the Russell neighborhood, inspection has been completed. And as I mentioned before, we are going to have to figure out how we program the improvements in the Russell neighborhood. And we have other areas that we need to assess. We have parts in the downtown business district. We have parts in Taylor Berry. We have parts in Park Hill. A lot of other communities that we need to do these inspections and assessments. But this is just to show you that this is the work that is going on now and all of the work that's being programmed in. And again, how do we budget that and get that into our cycle over the next fiscal years? There are different ways that odors can emanate into the air. We know the catch basins is one, manholes is another, but we also know that in some areas, downspouts that are connected to the system can also be a source for odor pathways. We also know that some people say it's inside my home, it's coming from my basement trap. Those are areas where we tell folks you can do things to trap your basement drain so that the odors do not come into your home, and also sewer vents that are on homes as well. So particularly with the roof drains, our recommendation is that you do not have a roof drain that is connected directly to the sewer. You can also do remedies, disconnect those and have remedies, and also set up rain barrels, et cetera, to deal with the roof drains. But all of these are potential pathways for odors to be in the system. A couple of years ago, we created a public information campaign. We did a PSA, and we are going to refresh that PSA, and we're going to be running it now, but as part of what we call our clAIRity program. And it's really trying to get information out so that we could raise awareness, and so that if people have odor complaints, they can notify us and they can let us know so we can be responsive. That campaign was, if you smell something, say something. And we believe that that has been very beneficial to the community. We also know it's been very beneficial to us, because when we do get those complaints, now we know where they are, and we can trigger and assess and figure out how we address those in the community. All this information about clAIRity in terms of how you can access information, obviously you can go to louisvillemsd.org/odor, or you can call 540-6000 and put in a complaint about an odor as well. And again, all that information is available for our team to address with you tonight. That's the type of information that we want to be able to get out in these public meetings, but we also want to take the opportunity, if either folks need more information, or if folks have questions. Again, I mentioned before, if you have a blue card or a green card, you can submit your question and we can try to address them while our staff is here. Or if there is a need to have a more private conversation with some of our team, we have the ability to have a breakout room if folks want to have a more private conversation. So I know, Cheryl, you want to throw your hand up and see if you have any questions that are coming in relative to the blue cards, or if there are any questions or any issues that may be coming through on the green cards. I do have a question here, and the question is other states, in all 50 states, are going through the same thing? And we have the email from the gentleman who gave us this information, and there's a very long answer to this, but I'll try to be brief. I have said before that odors in the sewer system is not just a Louisville problem. In fact, if you go to our website or if you get with one of our staff, just last month we did a podcast with other cities in Kentucky and also other utilities in the region that either have combined sewer systems or whatever. And everybody has their own unique issues within their system, but odors during the hot, dry period is affecting every urban core large city that have combined sewer systems. And it's really been more prominent in the last 5 years, and we've seen a drastic change in climate change and also rain events during the summer. So the answer to your question is that this is happening in every major urban core city, and if you need more information about that, again, get with us and we can give you more information. But this is not a Louisville issue. This is a sewer system issue that's impacting wastewater utilities across America, and the primary reason is because there has been a significant lack of funding from the federal government and others to be able to support replacing and improving sewer system as we've tried to come into compliance with the Clean Water Act. This one has a couple of questions on it. This is a question about major construction at the end of West Broadway, under the football field, and recently finished project across from the restroom. We did have a major project in Shawnee Park. I think over the last couple of months, we were spending time and money on cleaning out the Shawnee Basin, which is located under the infield in Shawnee Park. We wanted to make sure that before the summer season began, that we cleaned that basin out, and all that work has been completed. And so that was the work that was going on there. Is the water backup and backflow prevention program still available for affected neighborhoods and homeowners? Yes, that program is. And if anybody needs information about that, we can provide that to you. And how do I report people or lawn care services that are blowing leaves are blowing their lawn waste and leaves into the street. You can either dial 311 or you can call us at MSD and we'll have it investigated. Another major problem is the fact that, people are putting trash and lawn waste into catch basins, which is, double trouble for us as well. Are there plans to modernize Morris-Forman? As I mentioned before, we are now under an agreed order with the state of Kentucky to invest significant money into the Morris-Forman treatment plant. We are doing a lot of stuff. Number one, I mentioned we're replacing our biosolids handling system, which is a $250 million project. It does have scope of odor as a part of that project. We are currently rehabbing our sedimentation basins. We have 4 large basins that we are rehabbing. 2 of them are almost complete, and we'll kick off the rehab of the second train of sedimentation basins. We're doing work at our operational dissolved air flotation tanks. We're doing a lot of work at Morris-Forman, but I can tell you that is just work to keep the facility maximizing its ability to treat what we get today. We know that there's going to have to be a future investment beyond what we are capable of doing from a footprint or a available land space perspective to deal with future wastewater treatment. But we've probably invested well over $100 million just in the last 3 fiscal years dealing with solids and also putting in new dryers and all that at our Morris-Forman facility. And all of that helps not only the operation, but it also helps towards dealing with odors at the Morris-Forman plant. Yeah, these 3 questions here are pretty much similar, and it's more about the catch basins that we talked about in the presentation. We have, like I said, inside the 264 loop, we've identified about 12,000 catch basins that are untrapped. And it's going to take us a while to work through. I think we highlighted the neighborhoods and the work that we're doing in particular neighborhoods to replace those catch basins that need to be rehabbed or upgraded. Our biggest challenge is trying to figure out where we go next with the Russell neighborhood. Our initial estimates are around $15 million to do just the Russell neighborhood alone. But we have done a lot of work. And we have hotspot areas like Park Duval, Shawnee, California, and others that we've already begun the work. So we're committed to making sure that we can bring those projects forward. And we're also going to continue to lobby and look for additional funds that may be available through the state or through the federal government so that we can fast track the work in Russell. We can fast track work in Old Louisville. We can fast track work in the business district of downtown. So there's just so many needs, but very limited resources. Okay, the one question was the catch basin slides show that there are projects underway and complete. That was about 1,000 or so catch basins. You said there were about 12,000. Are these being addressed? As I just said, yes, we have a plan, and we have done a lot of assessments on some additional catch basins. Our next biggest focus is going to be on the Russell neighborhood and also in Old Louisville and also in Park Hill and also in the business district. So as we assess those and we do those, we're going to be able to address those. But right now, our priority areas are projects that we've already started for this fiscal year and for next fiscal year. The second question was pretty much the same. Who sets the regulatory standards, and has MSD ever been non-compliant? The regulatory standards that we're talking about within our sewer system are associated with the Clean Water Act. And that's why we are under a federal consent decree, because we were mandated to come into compliance with the Federal Clean Water Act relative to combined sewer overflows and also for sanitary sewer overflows. We are also in the situation where we have to be able to deal with not only the the standards that are existing, but any new standards that are going to be coming out. We know that EPA is getting ready to set standards for what we call PFAS. That's something that wastewater industries are going to have to be faced with, which is, we don't even know what the price tag on that is going to be. We're waiting on a new permit for all of our treatment facilities, wherein we don't know what the state requirement is going to be for nutrients at our treatment plants, which again could be hundreds of millions of dollars that we haven't even budgeted for. So the challenge is that the regulations are ever evolving, and we also know that we are, from an air quality perspective, we are working with the Air Pollution Control District. We have an agreed order with the Air Pollution Control District that we're already working and in compliance with, and working collaboratively with them on how we can put more specificity to projects, more specificity to timelines, and how we can figure out how we can do more work sooner. So we take it very seriously, whether it's federal EPA, whether it's the state of Kentucky, or whether it's APCD, we take it all very seriously, and we are going to treat it as such. And the challenge that we have is, how are we going to do things that are going to make the biggest difference the quickest, and how are we going to afford to do all the things that we have to do given the challenges that we have with our capital improvement plan and our regulatory requirements. When will the various consent decrees be over? Will money still be collected for other projects not yet identified? As I mentioned before, we recently completed the combined sewer overflow portion of our consent decree. We did modify the consent decree so we could work at Morris Foreman, so we could work at Patty's Run, our flood protection system. All of those projects that we amended the decree for are currently, all of those projects are supposed to be done by 2035. And we are on pace to do that. We still have other work that we're doing outside of the 264 loop that is under the consent decree that needs to be done by 2035. But between now and 2035, as I mentioned before, we did get an earmark in the, I should say, an allowance condition in the consent decree to where we must illustrate that we're spending a certain amount of money to address large diameter sewers that are caving in, problems in our communities, and we must spend $25 million a year addressing those type of projects. So we know that even though when those consent decree projects wrap up, there's always going to be another regulatory challenge, or there's going to be another issue that we're going to have to deal with to be able to address all the priorities that we have regulatorily. This question is about rate increases. How soon will MSD be asking for an increase for rates? There's two or three questions here. Every year we put together our operating budget, and we put together our rolling 5-year capital improvement plan, and those budgets and those capital improvement plans are discussed with our board in May every year, when we ask our board to, number one, approve our capital plan, approve our budget, and approve a recommended program for moving forward. So our board has the ability to increase rates on an annual basis. As I mentioned before, primary driver for most of our rate increases has been our capital improvement projects, and our board authority can raise rates approximately 6.9%. For the past several years, we've tried to stay below our board authority. But we will be vetting our fiscal year 25 operating budget and capital budget with our board in May of this year. This question is about odors in the house. I want to know when the odor is going to stop in my house. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is to make sure that whoever this person is, we have a conversation. to make sure that we understand where the odors are coming into your house. Again, as I mentioned before, is it coming from a basement floor catch drain? Is it coming from the sewer vent on the house? Is it coming from some other area? Or is it actually outside the house? Those are the type of things that we want to know to see how we can better assist you. This question is about what is our plan to combat odors for the summer and what other ways can MSD help to engage residents? One of the things that I talked about in my presentation, all the stuff that we have been doing will be ongoing. We're going to be, as I said, contracting with even more private water haulers to get water in the system. We have a plan to make sure that we are giving more resources to our staff to make sure that our staff can be more responsive as well. The other thing I mentioned in the presentation is that we are committed to doing these type of public discussions because we believe they're more fruitful in terms of getting information out to the public. We have started putting together a monthly newsletter that we are sharing with every council member, and we're asking every Metro council member to put it in their own newsletters. We're sending those newsletters out to neighborhood associations. In addition to that, we're going to restart our PSA that we're going to be doing again this summer. And at the request of any neighborhood association in a community, we can come out and have these conversations. And again, that's why we did this meeting tonight, because we feel that this is the best way to inform the public. And we're also going to continue to, if there's a council member that wants us to come out to their community meetings. We've done that in Donna Purvis's district. We've done that in Tammy Hawkins' district. And obviously, any district that folks want us to come out, we do that. So we are doing everything we can to be responsive, and we are doing all we can to make sure we get as much factual information out to the community. There was a question about 54 catch basins identified in the Taylor Berry area. And is there a map out online? And it's going out for bids. How many years before those 54 are upgraded? Whoever put this question in, if you can see our team, we do have that project that is slated to go out for bid, for those 54. And don't know specifically on the slide, it didn't have the schedule for when they would be completed, but they have been completed as far as the inspections of those 54 basins, 54 in Taylor Berry. The other question was, what impact does odors have on the health of residents? The one thing that I can tell you is that we have, particularly from when you think about hydrogen sulfide, that's the odor that we deal with. We have not seen any violations of any type of ambient air quality standards that are coming out of our system. Obviously, we're going to continue to monitor that. We have folks that work in and around these sewers every day, and we have not seen any issues. There are issues that we may have at our Morris Forward treatment plant that we monitor daily, and in those situations where if there's something at the facility or down in a tank or something like that, folks have to use PPE, personal protective equipment, to protect themselves. We make sure that our staff does that, but we are not aware of any ambient air quality standards or associated health issues with what we've seen with hydrogen sulfide. It says the Hallmark neighborhood was not listed on the project list, and where does that neighborhood fall? We'll have to check on this one and make sure that we get you some information. Okay, update on that. Hallmark, there's going to be an inspection by late this summer. So late summer of 2024, we will be doing a inspection and assessment of the catch basins in the Hallmark neighborhood. This question is about what do we do about odors that come in at night, particularly after 8 o'clock. We always tell folks to call 540-6000 or go to LouisvilleMSD.org to report it. As we said before, we know that sometimes we see an increase in odors at night. We don't know if it's atmospheric, but we do know that water usage does go down in the night as well, and there's less flushing of the system. But if you report it, we will respond. And we also take any responses or complaints that come in through Smell My City app as well. We have staff from our wastewater treatment facilities here. We have staffs from our drainage system here. We have staff from our sanitary system here. We have staff that respond to odor complaints here. We have facility staff here. We have customer service staff here. So we have the whole entire MSD team here for anybody that wants to have a more one-on-one discussion. But our bottom line is we just want to be informative and we want to be responsive. And we're just glad that all of you took the time to come and listen to us tonight. And please come back. Please call us because we're going to be here. And we are taking this very seriously, and it's a high priority for us. So again, our staff is here if anybody wants to have any discussion. Thank you. And we'll hopefully get the word out. Our next meeting is June 26th at 6 o'clock at the Western Library, 604 South 10th Street. Thank you for coming.